Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. Can't play my music, neither can you. I work in a shared office and sometimes one of the other department's assistants comes in here to file things. He came in one day and my coworker put music on. He complained and asked her to shut it off. It wasn't anything offensive, just typical music. This is not even his office. She complied. He comes into the office a few weeks later and it's just me and him. He proceeds to put on not music, but some kind of podcast. It wasn't that loud, but I could hear it. So, I told him I did not want to hear that, and he turned it off. If we can't listen to music, you certainly cannot listen to a podcast. Story 2. Get arrogant and pay the price. So I just recently found this subreddit and thought this story might fit here. First up, I am not a native speaker, so I had to translate a lot of the more specific terms. I work in quality control for a big utility company. My job is to make sure that cables and ducts are properly digitalized by the other companies that work for us. I am the only one doing that work in my department, and while we do have guidelines, sometimes things are pretty difficult to actually put into a digital plan. For example, if you have 10 cables and they lay in 2 layers of 5, but in the plan you have to draw them all next to each other. Usually I am pretty lenient. If something doesn't fit 100%, I might say, okay, due to the situation here it's okay. I am also always available for questions. A few employees of other companies call me pretty much on a daily basis for some decisions. Q2 particular arrogant employees of one of our service providers. I mark down a few mistakes they did in their documentation and that's it for me, but instead of going to me and asking me why I marked down those mistakes, they go directly to their boss, who then escalates the situation and arranges for a talk with me and my boss. I am already pretty pissed at this point, but okay, I do counter a few of their arguments, why the mistakes I marked aren't mistakes, and we are done with that. Meeting. Some time goes by and something similar happens again. They send a list with mistakes I marked them up for to my boss and try to explain why those mistakes aren't mistakes. At this point I have had it. I am the one doing the quality control, and we have pretty strict guidelines. So I decide I will briefly look over all of their work and only pick out those where I can find mistakes. I mark those up with citation of our guidelines why those are mistakes and they can't do anything about it. And I continue to do so pretty frequently. Since it's their mistakes, they don't get paid for any of the extra work. I also found a few cases where only one of their works signed off on some documentation, which is strictly forbidden in our documentation, and I also report that to my superior. It does give me extra work each week, but hey, they asked for it. Story 3. Do you guys want a spoonful of sugar? My wife and I were camping with our 2 sons who were 6 and 8 at the time. Our first night at the campsite we met another family with our same dynamic and we all instantly were familiar. We shared similar senses of humor and health choices, such as eating primarily whole foods. On Sunday both families were packing up to leave and they joked that they'd send their boys over so they could focus on getting ready to go. We joked that we might do the same. While we were in the midst of packing, their boys came over and said their parents sent them to hang out with us. Looking up at their campsite they waved with shit-eating grins. I nodded once slowly and waved back. After about 10 minutes of entertaining their kids' questions, their parents called for them to get in the car. As their boys started leaving I called them back. Have you guys ever had a spoonful of sugar before? Their eyes lit up and they said they hadn't. I got out 2 spoonfuls of coconut sugar, which has a low glycemic index, and gave one to each boy. I asked them to tell me what color the sugar was. They said it was brown, and I told them to tell their parents all about getting sugar from our family as a treat for coming over to spend time with us while we were packing up to leave. As their boys headed up to the car I nodded once slowly and waved goodbye. Story 4. My grandpa gets mad at me for drawing on myself, so I give myself fake tattoos he bought me. I hope that title makes sense. Anyways, I'm 14F and my 70M grandfather walked into my room as I was doodling on myself with Sharpies. I know it's bad for your skin, but oh well. So he came in my room and got mad, threw away the marker and went on a tangent about how the gays are ruining God's children and it starts with a tattoo, then you will be gay and more nonsense. After he left I went rummaging through my markers because there's something he forgot. About 4-ish years ago, he bought me these body markers that are essentially eyeliner. And I just went ham, drawing everywhere I know he will see. He hasn't seen them yet, but I will update if he does. Update. So he saw and he got madder, which I expected, but then he said I'm calling him gay? And then he started talking about more homophobic BS, and now he's using its pronouns on me? I don't know what just happened honestly, sorry about bad grammar, it's like 2 AM. Story 5. I'm not helping my hubby find his headphones. My husband is a slob. You know that saying, don't put it down, put it away? No matter how many times I have suggested he learn that habit, he just drops his belongings wherever he happens to be. He leaves a trail of laundry, wrappers, keys, wallet, dishes, tools wherever he goes. So as I write this, he's frantically looking for them. I went into our bedroom, glanced down in the laundry hamper, and saw them in there. Somehow the headphones ended up there when the dirty laundry doesn't, lol. I'm leaving them there. Story 6. 90s keg party. Don't bite the hand that feeds. Way back in the 90s, college kids used to supplement their income with keg parties. I know. Our friends were part of a sorority, in a state that had a legal drinking age of 21. We had a close friend who was freshly 21, and he was charged with presenting legal ID to purchase kegs for this party. Not just kegs, we bought tubs, ice, cups, and the main character, the tap. We set everything up for our friend and her housemates. Then, one stupid housemate decides to charge us $5 a cup. No free cup. No, thank you. Just grabs the dual sleeves of Solos and puts her hand out for $5. People showed up, beer pong was being played, college kid mistakes were being made, and then there was us. Just rampaging their house. Soaking all feminine products, tossing left shoes, we were particular, onto adjacent rooftops, batteries that were once in remotes were now gone. Then. Hey guys! Cops! As everyone scattered, we pulled the taps. We wrote everything else off. Just like they wrote off the night they could have had, and replaced it with the abbreviated get-together, they ended up with. College is a great place to learn. Both in and out of the classroom. Story 7. I hid all the best utensils dishes. I am 24MTF, who still lives at home. I still live with my single mom and the 2 of my 3 younger siblings. I know I should be moved out by now, but my mom is great letting me live rent-free as I pay off all my student debt before I move out. Looking at it, I have maybe 2 more years to have it all paid off. My siblings are not paying rent, my brother graduated with something in mechanics, I don't know what, but lots of money. He says he's saving up to buy a house, and my sister who's attending community college. This is where my mental health is getting tested. Well, despite all of the household people being over 20, it's only me and my mom cleaning the house. Usually mom cleans up after my siblings. I don't know why. I've told her to stop and it's just adding more on her, but she says I'll know differently when I have my own kids. Honestly, I'm sick and tired cleaning up after adults who were never taught to clean depending on me. My mom travels a lot, especially after we all graduated high school. Which, after having to raise us all since I was 6, I fully support her. But if when she leaves, I'm in charge of the whole house, pets and children. After finally graduating college, I'm sick of it. So she's been gone for 2 days and the dishes are already sky high. The living room was a wreck from the lack of attention for the pets, despite someone being home all the time. Dining room table full of various trash from my brother dropping shit off before going into his hole. I realized that all the really nice silverware was in the dishwasher before mom left. And no one does the dishes, so I decided to run the dishwasher and put up all the dishes. Grabbing the best spoons and the deep bowls. I know that sounds stupid, but my brother and I both have slightism. We prefer these dishes anytime we have food. I slipped those in my drawers so they're just for me. Anything I eat I can immediately clean it and bring it back to my room. So unless he wants them back, dishes are put away in the dishwasher. Sadly my sister mainly get fast food so she's not in this equation. I'll probably go for the towels next and keep all the best ones for the rest of the week until the laundry is done. I don't know if it'll have the same effect. I'm done with taking care of them. Story 8. I got revenge on my bully. In school I was relentlessly bullied. Two girls in particular had it out for me. I was shy, loved to read, didn't do the popular stuff, so I was the perfect victim. They'd literally torture me by holding me down in the staircase when we were alone and sticking pinboard pins into my arms, legs and feet. When I tried to tell teachers, they said I fell onto them as they were lying on the floor or I did it myself. It didn't help that one of them was the daughter of one of the teachers at the school. Well, I finally got my revenge. I went to try out a new ice cream shop and lo and behold, one of the girls was serving the ice cream. I have multiple allergies including milk and gluten, of which the ice cream shop claimed to be cautious. So I ordered gluten and dairy-free ice cream and set my phone camera up to film the area where the ice cream was prepared because I saw that the girl had recognized me and was certain she'd try something. And she did. I caught her on camera putting a spoonful of milk in the bottom of the bowl and crumbling the gluten-consisting wafers over everything, then camouflaging it with the last scoop of ice cream. She put it down in front of me and said, "I hope you enjoy it." I sweetly smiled at her and asked if she could get the owner of the shop because I wanted to thank her for being so welcoming to guests with allergies. You can guess what happened next. I showed the owner the video and told her that I'd like to press charges, because in my country it is considered a criminal offense called inflicting bodily harm to serve someone an allergen when you know the person is allergic. The bully will never work anywhere where she'll come in contact with food again and she'll have this on her criminal record for years. Story 9. I know it was petty of me and the supervisor nearly got himself fired. Yesterday, early in the morning, late in third shift, well before first shift's hourly people start showing up in the factory, the deed was done. The players in this unintended almost getting fired episode was myself and the lowlife, nepotism-loving, favoritism-showing, flirt with every woman, wise-ass third shift production lead. As our factory environmentalist for the past 2 years, having worked myself up through the ranks, I take my job seriously as the EPA and DEQ do not have sense of humor. Overall, I have been with the company for nigh on 15 years. I am in my 60s, and part of my job includes moving a 200 lb cart to the 14 work areas in the 335,000 square foot factory to verify, calibrate, and make sure everything is safe to use and operating within spec. I test lubricants, coolants, air, and water quality, verify standards and test blocks of each work area. The other parts of my job is supervising a crew of 20 plus highly trained men and women who maintain the machinery, work with engineers to improve our products, work with IT for programming and the buyers for purchasing, and on the days the VP of Operations takes vacation, fill in for him. The production lead for third shift is a late 30s, smarmy little snot eater who thinks he's God gift to the factory. He's loud, whiny, boorish, and probably only got his position because he's the son of one of our better senior engineers. He's not my friend. He's complained about me for the past 6 months to his mom, the senior engineer, about how my work interrupts his crew. He's whined to the VPO that my office and labs are huge and his desk is on the production floor, he's tried to blame his people's poor performance on me, etc. You get the picture. Yesterday, I parked my testing cart near module number 7, unlocked the doors and pulled out one of the testing trays I use. I went to the front of the machinery and told the operator he could take a break for 15 minutes while I worked on his machine. He was happy to go outside for a smoke. He took off his PPE as I started up his machine for testing. It's a little loud, but I wear earplugs and ear muffles, and I begin my routine of checks on this module. There's nothing wrong as this operator is a good one and takes good care of it. In just over 10 minutes, I've completed all the testing and the operator comes back. We spend a minute with small talk as I take the machine out of diagnostic mode and put it back to where he was, and in less than the 15 minutes I gave him, we were back in production. I pick up my tray and walk back to where I parked my cart. It's not there. It's missing. It's a cart with testing equipment worth a little over $200,000 and it is not where I left it. Oh shit. I'm in my 60s, so the first thing I suspect is Alzheimer's has finally caught up with me. I asked the operator if he saw where my cart was and he said he didn't touch it, but did the darting eye thing which told me maybe the production lead had moved it. I looked around and saw the little flat-headed fart in his reflective safety vest down the main aisle trying real hard not to look in my direction while he was talking to the operator of module number 4. Tray in hand, I walked to where he is and asked if he'd moved my cart. I knew he had just by the way the operator of number 4 looked uncomfortable. The lead said, "Yeah, you left it in the aisle over the yellow line, so it was a safety hazard." I know I didn't, and if I had thought about it I would have pulled up the video camera recording, so I moved it. I waited a beat. Then another while he stood there thinking he'd found me doing something wrong that he could exploit to his advantage. We take safety very serious. After the third beat, I asked him where he'd moved my cart. He finally told me he'd moved it half the factory away and pointed. Seriously, I'm in my 60s with a bad knee and half the factory away is a long walk. He then nodded to the operator and went off to not do whatever he was supposed to be doing, and I went to get my cart. I'm not a complainer. I'm a conservative from the last century where men take care of their own problems. He knew I wouldn't say anything to his boss, or HR, or my boss. Don't misunderstand, I'm not milquetoast. If you violate one of our safety or environmental SOPs, I'll rain hell down with quiet ferocity and escort your fired ass out of our factory. I've done it a dozen times in the 2 years I've held this position. I manage the way I manage and it seems to work. The stage is set for the petty revenge. I may be in my 60s, but I am still a gamer, into VR, former director of IT, and a 14-year-old at heart. What the fart smeller who moved my cart didn't know, was I am still very good with computers. His desk was positioned in the pod of desks for production leads for every shift where nearly everyone on the floor can see his 32 monitor. I'd gotten my cart and was pushing it to module number 8 when I heard the bell for third shift to take its final break. I knew there'd be no one on the floor as they went out for a smoke or the canteen for a snack. It took me less than a minute to stop by his computer and swap his screensaver, from the default floating clock we use to the rainbow flag of one of the community organizations I support. I'm not gay, but my youngest daughter is and she's my baby. Our screensavers are defaulted to set to activate after 1 minute of inactivity, and I was well away from his computer before anyone was back from break. I had gotten module number 8 started in diagnostics and was elbow deep in testing when the operator, a 30-year veteran of the company, tapped me on the shoulder. I pulled out of the machine and lifted my hearing protection. He was chuckling and not saying a word. He nodded his head in the direction of the leader's desk. What I heard was, "Who put that queer shit on my fucking computer?" As I'd hoped, he didn't know a lot about computers and didn't know how to change his screensaver, but I didn't think he'd be stupid enough to scream out queer shit, as we have several people working for us who are gay or bi. As long as they show up every day, do professional work, why should we care about their personal life? He was raving. I was savoring. I listened for just long enough to be a witness to his outbursts, if asked, then put my headgear on and went back to work. This narrative has gone on long enough, so I'll jump to the end of the story. His loud proclamation was heard by 2 people who were offended and turned him into his boss, and 1 who turned him into HR. By the time first shift started, he'd been written up at level 3, skipping level 1 and 2, probation, and any violation in the next 12 months gets him fired, no bonuses or pay raise while on probation, and has to attend 12 hours of sensitivity and inclusion training at the local community college. No one asked me who put the screensaver on his desk, and it stayed on through most of first shift until one of the level 1s came and changed it back to the clock. TL, I changed the screensaver on a supervisor's desktop and it made him very mad and he almost got fired. Edit. As some of you ne'er-do-wells have more situational awareness than I do and brought up an interesting point, I went into the factory today and accessed the video logs. It seems our surveillance settings is on a 24-hour loop in 15-minute recorded packets. Every 24 hours it overwrites the oldest file in the folder. It must be someone who didn't want to waste a lot of space with useless videos. I can't fathom who would have thought to set it up like that, but if the lead wants to check, it's too late now. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.